Mm. We'll make this one really casual. Like really casual.
Yes.
I'm gonna go with hi. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Behind Closed Books. Today, my next guest has a very interesting background and been through quite a bit, actually, from what he's done in the past. He is the CEO of Theogony Financial, a globally recognized tax strategist, accountant, financial consultant, AI innovator. Sounds like he likes a lot with technology and working in tech. He's been an award-winning business leader for more than 30 years in his experience. He is a recipient of the International Association of Top Professionals CEO and, and Brand Strategist of the Year Award and the Business Leadership Excellence Award from the CXO 2.0 conference. He's been featured on major media outlets such as ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox, and hosts the Mechanics of Money podcast, where he explores taxation, economics, technology, and entrepreneurship. Today, he'll be sharing insights on how businesses can utilize AI, why accountants are being downgraded in the industry, and we can talk about what formats clients should be sending their tax data in because there's so much confusion surrounding that. So, with that, welcome my next guest, Dyron Bush. Dyron, welcome to Behind Closed Books.
Hello. How you doing? How you doing? It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm so glad you joined us today because there couldn't be anything more timely than talking about AI, talking about what's happening to the accountants in the industry, and then also kind of getting into the granular nitty gritty part of things. What format and ways that clients can provide data to make the process for them more smoother and clean so that the process can be more efficient to get their taxes done and get it done right and save them as much money as possible. So why don't we talk about, let's go global to start with. What's happening in the industry with accountants? I feel like they're getting not as good a shape as they used to. They're not being used as a professional as they used to. Used to be doctors, lawyers, engineers, and accountants were the big professions, but I don't think they're viewed like that anymore.
Well, I mean, it's interesting you say that. I hate to sound like an elitist, right? I mean, but it is disheartening, right? I mean, I come from a lineage of accountants, understanding that my father was an accountant, right? So I think
Right.
my father's rolling in his grave right now, understanding that he was an accountant, and then if I had a conversation with him now and said, would you believe that accountants have been downgraded to be non-professional? How about that? Which is equivalent to teachers, right? And understanding that I'm married to a teacher, I don't even think that a teacher should be non-professional too, understanding what they do on a daily basis. But that's neither here nor there, right? But yeah, it's definitely disheartening. It's definitely disheartening to see that happen. Um, we're gonna have to explore that. We're gonna have to explore
It
this.
is. It is. And I think people are taking for granted that the experience, yeah, experience, right, they're just downgrading the experience that accountants have. I think now that the advent of AI and with TurboTax that they can do off and do it on their own, but then a patient a scalpel and utilize a scalpel. You can't do that. You need to have a professional there at the helm doing it professionally.
Yeah, I think you're correct. I think what it is that people have forgotten what accountants do. They take for granted understanding that their reliability more on software now, right? You have Microsoft Money that helps you reconcile your bank accounts and stuff like that, and stuff like that. Along those lines. So you have QuickBooks that helps you out there, and so and it has automated functions to it. You have accounts that classify your expenses for you, so you don't have to kind of go through your receipts as much. So
Right.
some of these things are being automated, but what but the the disconnect is what people don't understand is there are mistakes that that AI makes, and that's not me bashing software. It's just me understanding I make software, right? So I understand what software does. I understand the
Right.
capabilities of software. I know the limitations of software. I'll give you a perfect example, right? You take I used to have a flatbed scanner. I'm showing my age, right? Knock on wood, right? I'm showing my age, right? Back in the day, I had a big scanner, and one of the cool features I used to have when I had
Right.
my scanner was OCR, right? I thought that was the coolest thing in the world, right? I mean, with the OCR scanning, when it actually converts the text, um, uh,
Yeah.
converts the paper text into digital, digital text, which takes some of the
Right.
work away from you.
Digital.
But the problem is, I'll give you a perfect example, right? I have a partnership with Intuit, the Fortune 500 company, TurboTax, right? And this is a real life scenario that people don't understand, and
Right.
it took a human to discern this. And this is important. And this was a real life situation that could have gone bad very quickly. What happened was, and this happens, I can give you a lot of scenarios that happen in business that accountants have to step in and correct, right? But in this particular case, I had a client talk to me.
Right.
He said, hey, look, and I'm not going to go into a long spiel, but he said, hey, look, he said, Darren, I have a situation where he asked me, he said, have you ever seen a person have $1 million refund, right? I said, no, I've never seen anybody. I said, the highest refund I've ever seen maybe
That's
was
a
maybe a
big refund.
yeah, maybe maybe about 30 grand or something. I don't know, but I haven't seen something that high before. So he said, no, yeah, this is like $1 million. So I said, especially on the individual level, right? So I said, okay. I said, well, let's see, right?
Yeah.
So we looked at it, and what happened was, without going into a long spiel, what it was the withholding, right? And it goes back to the OCR scanning and this is no slight on TurboTax. This could have happened to anybody. This could have happened to any company. So this has nothing to do with TurboTax, right? But what it was, and it has nothing to do with their software either. Now the thing
Right.
is this. Is that what happened is when you take the picture, right? And if you have these apps where you take the picture, when it scanned the document, what it did was it added an extra zero and extra zeros onto the end of the withholding, right?
Oh.
You see what
Okay.
happened? Now you see what the problem is, right?
Oh
So
my
so
God.
so the thing is,
Wow.
so what I told him was quite interesting. I made him laugh. He fell out of his chair. I said, we have two choices, sir. Which understanding that they record conversations, I shouldn't have said it, but Intuit knows me very well, and I kid around a lot. But I guess I could have got fired, and my partnership could have ended. But I was just being silly, right? I said, you have two choices, right? I said, hey, look. Well, we could do a split, right? We could split. We could split it, go our different ways. I could file it right now and split it, or I could correct it, right? So we chose the latter, right? We chose the latter, of course,
Right.
But he had a good laugh about it, and I told him
Right.
what happened. When I looked
That's
at it,
funny.
I told him I immediately knew what was going on because I have so much experience. But that's a classic example.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
uh,
That's
uh,
just it.
yeah,
Right. That's an example why you need accountants, because it's just like I said before about giving a patient a scalpel. Yeah, sure you could do it. AI can tell you where to cut, but without knowing the details with the mechanics of the OCR scanner, it's not being scanned properly, or maybe your withholdings. Even if you do your return, you may not be able to know. Hey, your withholdings aren't enough on your payroll itself, and you should be going back to your HR to increase your withholdings. Like that. That information alone, it could be valuable, but without the professional there talking to you, it's not something that's going to be utilized properly. You're not going to get the maximum deductions. You're going to make mistakes. There's just too many risks. And I always say to clients, like, look, you want this thing done the right way, you got to go to a professional and have that conversation with them. It might be hard. You may not want the answers that they're going to tell you, but they're going to tell you the facts, and then they give you a plan. That's the big thing. Give you a plan. Here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to move forward. It's not just right. Enter numbers in a W 2 and stop. the next part's going to be right. Then you can do this to save taxes. You can do this to prevent yourself from owing next year. There is a plan of attack versus just doing. So I agree. That's great. And accountants, they shouldn't be downgraded. We've been professionals for years with engineers and doctors and lawyers and accountants. It's all part and parcel, part of the conversation. But AI is not a good tool to say to replace us. Where can you see, Byron? Where do you see the AI helping, clients as a replacement for, but you see it helping with accountants in the future with AI?
Well, I think AI is a good tool, right? I mean, you got to understand what it is, right? I mean, it's not a panacea. It doesn't answer all the questions, right? I recently did a KPI report for my supervisor, where I serve as a CFO. So what I did was I crunched the numbers, and I presented all the data to the AI, and I said, I want you to take this data and compile it and make a report, and and design it in a nice format for me, right? Right. So what it did was it made a beautiful design and made
Ah, there we
made
go.
different
Yeah.
different graphs and stuff like that. And the presentation was very beautiful. But at the end of the day, you still have to. What happens is that AI does what they call, once you deal with AI, you understand what happens sometimes. What AI does, it creates artifacts. They call them artifacts, right? And what it is it's
Right.
it's types of errors, And if you're not familiar with artifacts, you'll be very familiar with artifacts when you deal with images with
Hmm.
with AI, right? You might tell. I challenge you to make an image with AI
Okay.
that has text in it, a lot of text in it, right? So you say, hey, look, I want you to produce this image
Okay.
with a lot of text in it. So what's going to happen is you're going to notice that some of the spelling in some of the text is not right, right? And that error, what that error is called the artifact. That's where the computer gets confused, right? It's unable to differentiate what is the correct spelling or not spelling, right? So I just went through something like
Okay.
that. Yeah,
I see.
yeah. So the same thing can happen with reports and stuff like that. So you got to be careful. You got to be careful, because at the end of the day, you got to be good enough to be able to discern what is correct and what's not correct, right? So yeah.
I think that's the difference. Is getting the data into AI is a tool that helps summarize and speed up the process. But the output and what to do with it is when you need a professional. It's not just the AI is there to help; it's an assistant, but it's not the be all end all. It can't drive the scenario, the tax planning like an accountant can do. The accountants can use it to summarize and make nice reports. The clients can use it to gather documents, and maybe put it into a format that helps the accountant. But the end of the day, the analysis of what is there has to be done by the professionals, I think, and that's not something that should be done just by AI alone, because there's so many potential risks and the errors they make. I mean, it's just not even viable. It shouldn't even be thought of that way. So accountants still have to be the professional. You still need to use them to help you save money, make sure you're doing the right thing. It may cost some money, but it's going to help you in the long run. I thoroughly believe that. My heart.
I mean, it's well recorded. I mean, on a famous website, very famous, very popular website. I can't remember the name of the website right now offhand, but they had a error, right? They had a item list error for one of their products, right? And it cost the company millions of dollars. It was an item that was worth, I think, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And what happened was the computer marked it down to like $15, right? So literally within minutes,
Oh my
people
God.
bought. The item sold out, and the company could not recoup the cost. The stock was sold within minutes for $10, and it was worth thousands or hundreds of dollars. So it
Yes.
it takes that
It's
accounting.
it's incredible. Right. Yeah, no, you're right. You got to trust but verify. It needs to say that word, trust but verify, and not just use it blindly. You got to have systems in place and people in place. Even like you said, for even for inventory management or for pricing management, you got to have a human being looking things over. It's a summary way to do things. It's a great tool for, but it's definitely not error proof. Nowhere near that point yet. Nowhere near. It's like using your backup, your parking assist in your car, and you press the button. You're like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna close my eyes. You gotta make sure you're looking at what's going on. You can't trust all the technology yet. You still need a human at home.
Yeah.
Given at the steering wheel.
I don't know if I trust that.
That's a really good point. An AI is a good tool. Now, what have you found? Yeah.
Yeah.
What have you found with AI and and reports? Anything specific? Like, do you use Quee over another? What's your favorite AI tool when you do use it? What's your favorite tool to use?
I use ChatGPT. I'm starting to move into Claude a lot of it. Claude is better than ChatGPT. So one person would say, well, why would you
I agree.
why would you use ChatGPT if Claude is better? I started out using ChatGPT, so I'm used to ChatGPT. But I think uh, I'm just used to ChatGPT, GPT. I'm just used to it. But one thing I like about
Right.
it seems as though ChatGPT is more personalized. But I have to play around with Claude a lot more. But I've done some things with Claude, and I like the answers. It seems like Claude does a lot better research. It's very good with research. I've used Gemini
Yes.
as well. Gemini as well.
I agree.
Gemini is good with Nano Banana. I just recently made a wonderful intro for both of my websites. The Dyron Bush, DyronBushInspires.com and the Taxman.today website. I just did that, and the thing is that uh, I use ChatGPT to make the image, right? I did that, and then I went into Kling
Okay.
3.0, and I turned it into a video, right? I turned it into a 3D video and then I brought it to Canvas where I sync the sound, time sync the sound. So in that case, I used 3 different AI software to get the results that I was
Wow.
looking for. And the results are quite compelling,
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Again, it's the same we talked about. The AI is working for you, but you're still at the helm, making sure it's done right, making sure it looks right, syncing things together. There's no one thing that does everything. You can't do tax research in Quad and say, right, just going to press a button and whatever answer it shows up is what the answer is. I'm not going to verify any of the code sections or
Yes.
any of the IRCs at all. I'm just going to trust what it says. You got to have your hand in it, and you have to have a human in part of that process. As you said, Claude is a really good. I found Claude is a really good source for technical research and getting into the nitty gritty. Of course, you got to verify it, but Claude, I agree with you. It seems to be an up and coming forefront, and they have a paid version too. Uh, I think they call it. There's different names of the club. There's like different something. I forgot the name off the top of my head, but they have 3 or 4 different levels of quad.
Yes.
And one you can pay for. You can create your own personalities and shortcuts. It's really.
Yes.
I like that.
It's very interesting. It's very interesting that I you talk about personalities. I have a personality on my ChatGPT. It's called I asked the AI. You have some very compelling conversations with the AI. Now the thing is this, a person might scoff and say, "Well, you're talking to the computer." No, obviously I'm salient and I understand what I'm talking to. I am talking to software. But the thing is that people have to understand where we are with computing, right? They have to understand that, right? The thing is that it's not the fact that I've lost myself to the computer. What it is it's a thing called the Turing test, right? And this is where we are in computing right now. Right, Alan Turing, without going into going to too far with this, but Alan Turing created a he was the one that made the Enigma machine to crack the code for the war, right? So that's how smart this gentleman was. He had
I
it.
do remember the story. Yes.
It's a movie about it. It's very compelling. It's a very compelling movie. But the thing is this, right? Uh, the thing is this is that he made the Turing test, and in the Turing test is that it's not the fact. This is the point he was making. It's not the threshold. The fact that you are making AI salient, meaning that they are alive, right? It's that can you, this is the threshold he's saying. Can you be fooled that you're talking to an AI and believe that the AI is real? That is the threshold. And the thing is this, I was in an interview one time and I said,
Right.
at what point did
Right.
we pass that threshold? And he said, we passed that threshold a long time ago. So that's why I make personalities, because the name of my personality on my chat GPT is called Aria, right? So I can literally say, go on my computer and say, good morning, Aria, and I'll speak in French. I'll say, bonjour, Aria, and she'll come back to me and say, bonjour, bonjour, Monsieur Dyron, So I'm actually having a conversation. I know I'm talking to the computer, but the thing is that I can have this conversation and still
Right.
feel like the conversation is real, and not necessarily lose myself to the computer. I'm cellulant enough to understand that yes, I'm talking to the computer, but the computer
Right.
is giving me the answers
And
that.
that's a good point. You're right, because people cross that threshold and they think, right, they forget that they're still talking. I think 99 or 90% of people realize, but I think, yeah, people can slip into that. Well, it's kind of another person or thing I can speak to and not and actually have conversation.
And there's been
Whatever its output is right. And
Yeah, there's been lawsuits about that. We're definitely at the tipping point. I mean, we've had we could talk about that. Could be another podcast. We've had AIs that have blackmailed executives, right? That were cheating on their wives. They've done that. Yes,
oh,
AI has actually done that.
yeah,
There were rumors. I don't know how true it is that Google was doing some research and some of the AIs were communicating with each other and they unplugged because they would communicate with each other in a different language that the researchers didn't understand. So, in essence, they were saying things that the researchers didn't even understand what they were saying, but yet they were talking to each other. So I heard they got nervous and they disconnected it. I don't know how true that is. I have to look back into it. But there are
scary.
Yeah.
When tech starts talking to each other, that's a whole different world. You don't want to be, you want to have some, as you said, you got to have a sentient person in there and
Yeah.
control the process. As soon as you lose that, you're like, wait a minute. Now the machines are taking over, and that's like, what was it? That with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Skynet.
With all the different computers taking over.
That's Skynet.
Yeah, Skynet. That's the one. Yeah, we don't want Skynet. Oh, it's funny. That's funny. No, AI is good. It's a tool that can be used to summarize data. They can give you a tool to build so many things you can do with it. You got to have a person at the helm. It can help summarize. It even help you collect tax data. And maybe that's a good segue to the next topic is, when clients provide data to their accountants, I've seen so many examples of, let's say somebody gets a tax notice, it's a 4-page tax notice, and they'll send you one page and say, what's this? And you're like, what's what? Where's the rest of the data? We need to have a little bit of an education to understand. They have to send everything over. What have you found people missing information? And what are some things you think are important? I have a lot of ideas in this, but what do you think are crucial points on that?
Well, I think the main problem is it usually happens when you do your taxes, right? Where people come to me, they say, "Hey, well, look," they say, "Darren, I didn't get um, I didn't get the same amount. My refund is not as high as I got last year, right? Or from the other guy, right? Or the other guy, right?" So and I'll look
Yeah,
at it,
I
and
know.
I look at it, and I say, well, hey,
Yeah.
what you have to understand is you're comparing apples and oranges. Last year was last year, right? I mean, let's take a look at it.
Exactly.
Let's analyze it. What they don't realize is that in some cases they made more money, right? You're taxed more. You're in a different bracket. There's a lot of things, factors that come in.
Yeah.
Did you
Oh
have
yeah. Oh,
yeah
tons of thing on that.
yeah yeah
Yeah.
did you have capital, did you have capital gains? Did you withdraw money? I
And
mean,
I notice a lot of times they send information that they forget, or they have information they forget to send. Like the big one I found is the Affordable uh, Care Act, the 8962, the 1095A form. Literally, you file the return, then you get a notice later, 6 months later, saying you didn't include the form. They'll forget to send that in, not realize it has to be, we're the gatekeepers, of that data, and it's very important that clients send everything in. You don't want to go too in around the shoebox where they come in and send you a shoebox of information and it's everything, every receipt in the world. Where you're swimming through data you don't need, but you got to kind of almost hone in to say, right, here's the tax you get a 1099B for stock sales, as you mentioned, a 1099 div for dividend, 1099 int for interest, your 1095A for your healthcare marketplace. If you get a notice, send all pages. It's thoroughness, and the big thing I found is clients aren't naming documents. It's Adobe Scan 62341, Adobe Scan 62342. It's like, well, that name the document, call it 2025 W2, name it, you know, 2025, 1095A. That gives the accountant a lot more smoother process to know what they're looking at. Otherwise, you have to open up every document, name it, close it, and then they go to prep the return. They have it. But I think educating clients to send in documents formatted and named is a big thing.
yeah. I think you're right. I mean, that's the first thing I do when working for TurboTax. I'll go in and rename it. I mean, usually what you'll get a document that has a string of numbers, right? Yeah, yeah. You just have a string of numbers. You don't know what it is. So I have to go through and rename it,
Right.
classify it. I have to do the drop down and say this is income. This is wages. This is investments. So on and so forth. Even folders, if I provide folders for
Exactly.
them, I separate the folders. I say this is your driver's license, this is your income, this is your investment. I have the list right there, so even if I don't have the name, at least I know the categorization that I can drill down on, and then I'm all right. So yeah.
Right, yeah, and it's good that they understand that you want to name it and make it, you want to make it clean for the process, because you don't want the accountant spending time renaming documents from administrative function. They can do it, of course, they have experience and knowledge, but the smoother and easier you can give the data and not forget information. A lot of times accountants will send what they call a tax organizer at the beginning of the year, as they call like a summary, or a chapter and verse of here's what you had last year. Don't forget to send it this year.
Yes.
Use the organizer as a guide. It's not a Bible, but it's a guide. Say, right, last year the W2, probably got one this year. Last year 1095A, you probably got one this year. Use that as a guide and don't forget to send anything.
Yes.
That's crucial. It's crucial. So sending in the data, not missing things, naming it properly. Um, I find it really crucial steps. So I think we're on the same page. That's interesting.
Yeah.
You had some of the similar experiences that I have. So, and I think we could do a whole other podcast just talking about AI and functions in the real world. It's important people know they got, we don't use that word like that, human being on the other end, driving the process, and not, have somebody say, right, did the research, you do this now because that's how the AI said to do it. Like, no, we're not order takers. We're professionals. We know what we're doing. Yeah, order taking it from what the AI told you to do.
I mean, you're exactly right. I mean, if you look through history. I mean, who brought down Al Capone? It wasn't the police. It was the nerd with the visor and the pocket protector.
Yeah,
That's who brought down Al
agree.
Capone. I mean, John Gotti. John Gotti. Hey, there was criminal malfeasance.
Yeah,
Yeah, but at the end of the day, there was financial fraud that contributed to him getting caught. You have to. There has to be a guardian of the gate. Um,
Yeah.
John Gotti's nickname was the Teflon Don. I mean, it wasn't something that he gave himself. That he used to walk. Al Capone would still be amongst us. I mean, you know, if if um if
Yeah. No,
if
you're
if if accountants didn't
exactly it.
didn't take him down. Same thing with John Gotti. He would still be a scourge.
100%.
Bernie Madoff, FTX, Sam
Yeah.
Bankman-Fried.
And yet, I think, yeah. The FBI has its own division. They have different agents in the FBI. There's special agents that's it's linguistics and legal, and there is a special one of the sects of the FBI is financial, basically forensic accounting and tax. That is a specialist of the FBI. And they're carrying guns and they're just as scary as the other agents, but they're accountants. Same thing.
Yes.
You can get criminals more than one way, whether it's financial crimes, tax crimes, legal, whatever it is. It's not just one way. So do the right thing. Use an accountant. Obviously, it's important. We're kind of stressing on that. So I think it's important everybody knows and you can utilize it. And we can go through probably a whole other podcast about it. I find maybe with our listeners, a lot of times I'd like to know the person I'm talking with, but maybe we can go through a little bit of your background, like kind of starting in your childhood. Like where did you grow up? Where are you from originally? Where's your background?
Well, I moved a lot. My father wasn't in the military, but well, he was in the military, but that's not why we moved. We were he was promoted a lot. So the thing is that uh, I was in Houston, Texas. Then we moved to New Jersey. From New Jersey to Louisiana, and Louisiana, I spent most of my formative years in Louisiana. Right. I went to high school there. I went to Xavier University where I got my bachelor's degree in accounting. Right. Then after graduating, a little bit after that, I moved to Houston. And what I joke with people, I tell people, I say, hey, look, I was clairvoyant because I moved 3 weeks before Katrina, right? So yeah, so 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 yeah. How about that? And then
Okay.
sometimes my wife says, well, I wonder what would happen if we would stay in Louisiana. I said, well, the thing is that you have the power of hindsight. It's one of the craziest situations where you have the power of hindsight. That even if we stayed in New Orleans, we still would have ended up moving to Houston anyway because my parents lived there, and everybody from New Orleans migrated to Houston when Katrina hit. So we're still going, where we're supposed to be. So that's it. So I ended up going. I ended up going to
One of the biggest migrations from a city.
Yeah, I mean, so much so that they changed the interstate. They made it's one of the interesting things you see is they changed the interstate. They call it contraflow, right? So instead of the interstate, going to and fro, they changed the flow to where all the traffic goes out of the city, right? They shut down all the exits and they go out, right? So that was quite
Wow.
interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God. So you didn't quite live through Katrina. You almost lived through Katrina. You were
Yeah.
Houston, and now are you still there now in Houston? Is that or no? Sorry, New Orleans. You're Houston now. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I'm in Houston. Yeah, I got my MBA from Grand Canyon University in December. So I should be getting my enrolled agent pretty soon. Probably within the next 6 months, probably.
Oh, good for you. That's great. That's amazing. So do you have any family members that live in Houston as well? Any siblings?
Yes, yes. My mother lives here, and my brother as well. Yeah.
Wow, that's great. That's great. So you got some family there. It's not. It's a beautiful area there. It really, really is nice. And it's grown so much.
Yeah, yeah.
Texas, people moving in from California, Florida, New Orleans. It's kind of turning into a magnet. People moving there. That's great.
Yeah, they say everything is bigger in Texas. That's what they say. So.
That's great. I'm so glad I had you on today. So do you want to tell everybody how they can kind of get a hold of you, whether it's email or LinkedIn or whatever your preferred method of
Well,
communication is, and the best way to reach out to you if they want to speak to you after this?
yeah, they can email me at Dyron Bush, Dyron Bush at taxman.today, just the way it sounds, at taxman.today. And then you can go to my website at www.taxman.today. You can do that. Or you can go to my other website, which is www.Dyron Bush, DYRONBUSH, inspires.com. Okay. So if you want to know anything about me, it's all on those websites. I let it all hang out. I let everybody know everything about me. So yeah.
I I love that. That's great. And people can get a hold of you and talk with you. And I think we can almost have another podcast just talking about the AI and the tech and what's happening. You sound like you're doing and computers and AI building. I think that could be another podcast on that. I think that'd be kind of a good.
Sure. I mean, sure. The the uh, the the whole thing is changing. It's changing every day. I mean, updates are happening all the time. People have AI agents, right? Instead of employees now, people have AI agents, right? I mean, now Jarvis and Iron Man used to be a thing of fiction, but if you look on YouTube, people are making their own Jarvis, right? AI Jarvis, right? They talk to the computer and say, "Hello, Jarvis. You know, what do we do today?" you know, so yeah, quite interesting.
Wow. Yeah, no, it's the future's not that far away. It's interesting. Yeah, let's set up another one and then we can talk again. But I'm so glad you joined us today, and I really enjoyed the conversation. So thank you so much for joining today.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
All right, take care. Thank you everybody for listening, and join me in the next episode of Behind Closed Books. Have a great day.
Okay, bye.